I'll record. Hi, Cheyenne. All
Hi,
right.
Shane. Hi, Dr. Chavez. Hi, Dr. Melendez. Dr. Christopher Young. So, Carlotta, everybody's here. So, okay.
Everybody's here. We ready to get started
Yes.
then?
Yeah, we can. And then if by the time people start kicking in, I'll just Dr. Westmoreland, she just look in. So
All
that's
right.
great.
We'll
All
hold on
right.
and wait then. We'll wait for everybody to join.
Yeah,
Oh, and there's Jennifer. All right.
Jennifer's coming in. Okay.
All right. Full house. Look at this. A lot of
Yes,
fun.
nice. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
All right. Hey, Jen.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, hi,
Awesome.
good evening, everyone. So I think most of you met Eric in last year. So, anyways, Eric is the president of the coaching of dental All-Star Dental Academy. He's been my coach for a couple of years right now. He's helping me out with some things on my office, like patient presentation, get things ready, create some protocols, get feedback, training my staff, training me. So now we just want to share this great culture with you guys. So, Eric,
All
they
right.
are all yours.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Paris. And obviously, we got all-star coaches, Lynn, our hygiene coach, and Cheyenne and Jen, case acceptance and insurance-free extraordinaires. They know how to talk to patients. They do it every single day. They're phenomenal treatment coordinators in their practices, and they coach with me. So it's great to have them too. And Shelly, one of our other coaches, was going to join us, but they are without power in some snow. And so we let her off the hook for that. So I know you guys get all the snow in Florida too.
Yeah, we do a lot.
I'm in California, and we actually got snow today for about 5 minutes. Just enough, just enough. So, all right, let's do some follow up because last time we met, Doctor, we talked about, hey, how do we get out of this insurance thing? How do we make sure insurance isn't controlling us? And how do we make sure that we look at insurance as, is it helpful or is it hurting us? Should we resign from it, some of the insurance, and if so, how to do that? So does anybody have any follow-up questions or comments about last study club meeting that we had? Jump in, anyone. I know some of you weren't there. We talked about what it's like to be an out of network provider, and how even when you're out of network, not only will the check come to you, but they'll pay your office fee 90% of the time. So the question becomes, why are we really in network? What's the benefit to the practice for that? And there's some analysis that has to go on. Obviously, Dr. Paris has been able to put his practice in a position to be insurance free, I guess would be the right way to do it, have insurance freedom before we even started working together, right, Doctor?
Yeah, way
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. And you learned some things, the wrong way to do it, the right way to do it
Yeah,
through
the
that.
pretty much the wrong way was not really a wrong way, but communicate to the patient before you
That's right.
send the letter out. So because I said, okay, I need to inform the patient, so I decided to send a letter out saying,
Yeah.
okay, I'm out of network, everything like that. And then say, okay, maybe I should have explained to the patient why I'm going out of network and when it's going to happen, and then send the letter out. So prepare the patient for the field at least a couple months before, 3 months before.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know,
From a general dentist standpoint, please do me a favor. If you're ever thinking about getting out of network with insurance, never, ever, ever send a letter for any reason. Okay. Don't send a letter. I will. The team, the All Star Cheyenne's laughing. Yeah, we are here to help you with that. If ever there becomes a need, it's really a personal conversation that you do for 6 months with good analysis to make sure it's the right call. Okay, so no questions or comments about insurance freedom or anything like that. Okay. If you think of a question, put it in the comments. I'll see it. Message me directly if you want. If you want to do it anonymously or just jump in. Today, coaches, we're talking about case acceptance. So how to increase case acceptance, especially between when you're referring to the orthodontist, when you're referring to the periodontist, and how do we refer that dentistry back? And so how do we improve case acceptance? So the first roll call question that we have to recognize is, and coaches, you can nod on this if you're in agreement, that we are in sales. We have to recognize that we're in sales, right? The good news is we sell healthcare, and we can call it anything we want. We can call it case presentation. We can call it review of findings, a consultation appointment, you know, uh, however you want to call it. At some point, there's going to be an exchange of information that has to be bought into by the patient. And what we want to make sure is we never do that in a pushy way. That if we're going to be accused or guilty of being in sales, that we do it the right way. That we're doing that in a very, we have high integrity, that the patient feels comfortable, they never feel pressured, and that they want to do it, that it's something that they want to take care of. And so how do we do that? I'll have offices say to me, oh no, I don't want to do sales, and I don't want to be pushy and all this kind of stuff. And then the next thing I hear them say to their patients is, you need a crown. And for me, in my ears, when someone says you need a crown, to me, that sounds like pressure sales. So how do we get out of that? How do we get away from telling people what they need, pressuring them, and really getting to a place where they can solve problems themselves on their own accord with their own decisions? And so the coaches and I use a formula called 95-5 rule. It's just a number I made up. There's no scientific study behind it, but it works. And so if you want to make sure that your patients are not feeling pressured, but they feel like, hey, I want to fix this, doctor, I want to get this taken care of, then the first thing you have to understand is people don't buy a solution to a problem they don't perceive to have. People don't buy a solution to a problem they don't perceive to have. And your admin team will confirm this for you. You can ask them this. They'll tell you, yeah, Ricky Bobby canceled his appointment today, doctor. He said it's not bothering him, so he's going to go ahead and wait. Jen calls me up to remind me of my appointment, and I say, oh, I'm so glad you called, Jen. I was just getting ready to call you. You know what? That tooth, it's not even bothering me, so I'm going to go ahead and wait. This is the realization we need to understand that they didn't buy into the diagnosis first, because they believe they can self-diagnose once there's pain. Is this making sense? Yeah. Okay. So obviously with Perio, it's different. The silent killer of teeth. That's another one.
It doesn't
right?
hurt.
It doesn't hurt. So I'm going to wait. Yeah, we do implants too, right? So our goal obviously is to make sure the patient understands the diagnosis. They also understand the consequence of that. So if we're going to be guilty of selling something, we're going to sell the diagnosis. We're going to sell the condition. And that's where the 95-5 rule comes into play. So if you can walk away from anything tonight with some I think powerful case acceptance information, it's 95% of your energy and focus and communication is about the condition, the diagnosis, the consequences of that. So how that sounds, if Jen's my patient, I say, Jen, I'm really concerned about the two teeth in the upper right and the amount of decay that's there. Those, you can see them on the camera, the old metal fillings that are there causing fractures. I'm concerned about the decay that's underneath those metal fillings. And Jen, did you know what happens when that decay ends up hitting the nerve of the tooth, the center of the tooth? Has anybody ever explained to you what happens then? Oh, can't hear you, Jen. You unmuted yourself and I can't hear you. But I could tell you said no. She said no. And then you can explain what a toothache is and how a root canal is the only way to solve it. Most of us in dentistry don't realize this. The non-dental, you can do a survey of your non-dental friends. You can just ask them. You can say, hey, from your perspective, what do you do once you have a toothache? What happens once you have a toothache? And they will give you one of two responses: have a tooth extracted or put a crown on it. The non-dental public believes that if they have a toothache, I'm gonna get a crown done. This is why, Cheyenne, when you answer the phone and it's a new patient calling in, they say, yeah, how much is a crown? Our belief immediately is, oh, they're shopping. Somebody's recommended a crown for them. When in actuality, they haven't been to the dentist in 4 years and they've got a toothache and they believe, oh, I need a crown. I have a toothache. It's all circular. So in the diagnosis, is where case acceptance can really, really take hold. You can really go the extra mile. You can really get more dentistry done, get a patient healthier faster when they understand the diagnosis. So in the 95%, you want to be focusing on two things: the condition and what the consequence of that condition is. Simple explanation. So you would say, looking at intraoral photos, here's what I see. To really describe what's going on. Really describe what's happening. Don't minimize what the diagnosis is. You know, doctors don't go, well, you have a little bit of heart disease. But yet we'll say, oh, you have a little cavity here. You have a little bit of bleeding, right, Lynn? When they do the hygiene perio exam, you have a little bit of bleeding. It either is or it isn't. And you have to explain that to them. But then you also have to let them know what the consequence is, what's coming after that. So when you do consequences, there's only two consequences we deal with. So Lynn, you can unmute yourself there. Lynn, answer this for me. You know this as a hygienist. What's the consequence of gum disease?
Tooth loss.
Tooth loss, pretty easy one. You don't do anything, tooth will have no foundation, it's gone. And the other consequence we deal with, Lynn, is what's the consequence of decay?
Crown, cavity, big abscess.
Okay, abscess. So the toothache, right? It's infected, there's a toothache there, and you got to solve it before that happens. If so the consequences we deal with are two: toothache or tooth loss. That's it. So as you describe what you're seeing on the intraoral photos, maybe an iTero scan, and you say things like, well, you've got an MODL amalgam with defective margins. There's a class 5 buccal on there with furcations. And then you say, so let's do crown lengthening and crown buildup and a crown on that tooth. They have no idea what you just said, except for one word they heard 3 times. Crown, crown, crown. Just sounds expensive to me, and it's not even bothering me. This is the roadblock we run into. This is why we end up with, we believe money is our number one objection, when it's not. Lack of urgency is actually the number one objection. That's why people act like they don't have money, because they don't believe it's worth paying for. Is this making sense, guys? Mm-hmm. So as you talk to your patients, you're going to depict, here's the condition, here's the diagnosis, and here's what it leads to if you do nothing. Okay. 95/5, 95/5 rule. So you're not allowed, you're not allowed to talk about treatment until they say, yes, I want to talk about treatment. All right. So Cheyenne, be ready here. All right. So Cheyenne is she's going to jump in. So before we look at that 95/5, there's that line between the fives, Cheyenne, right? I'm going to put you on the spot here. There's Larissa. All right. Awesome. Larissa's going to join us too. Coach Larissa. So Cheyenne, when we're talking about condition, we're talking about consequences. Now we need to see if this patient really understands what the problem is. What do we do? What do we have to do at that moment?
You want to test their buy-in?
That's right. You want to test the buy-in. How do you do that? What do you say?
You ask them, how concerned are you with what we discovered today?
How concerned are you? Good job, Cheyenne, 10 points. So 10 points. All right. So here's the deal. You're not allowed to talk about the 5%, the treatment, unless the patient believes there's a problem. Why are we trying to solve things before the patient believes in the diagnosis? This is where we run into money objections. This is where we come into lack of urgency. So just like Cheyenne said, you would talk about the condition, you would talk about the consequences of that, and you would simply ask the patient, how concerned are you with this infection? How concerned are you with these 3 teeth on the upper right? How concerned are you with making sure those don't turn into a toothache? Notice it's not a yes or no question. This is a part of the framing that we use in our verbal skill training to make sure that the patient says, oh my gosh, yes, I do believe that there is a problem there. There is no point in trying to, quote, sell treatment when they do not buy in, like Cheyenne shared, when they don't buy into the problem. Pretty simple. For some reason, though, as human beings, we don't do that. We go right into looking at their tooth and we go, okay, you need a crown. And we get into pressure sales again and we push, push, push. People don't buy a solution to a problem they don't perceive to have. So your first checklist is, did they buy the problem? If they buy the problem, great. Now you ask them the next question before we get in the 5%. You just say, do you want to talk about a solution? Now you can say that a lot of different ways. I say, would it make sense to talk about how we can take care of this then? So in the 95%, you'll talk about all the condition and consequences, ask 2 questions before you ever get into the 5% the treatment talk. How concerned are you with this? Yeah, I'm really concerned. Would it make sense to talk about a plan? Yes. Please do me a favor, understand 2 things. 1, the first question is not a yes or no question. Is this a concern for you? Yeah, totally. Cheyenne, I'm sure you've had patients walk out the door and you thought they're not going to show up for their appointment. They just did the yes, sirs, yes, yeah, yeah. Whatever you say, doctor, yeah. They can lie to you in 1 word, in 1 syllable. That's pretty easy to do. They can't lie to you when you have an open-ended question. How concerned are you with this? I'm pretty concerned about it. Or they'll say, it's not bothering me, doc. Now there's conversation to be had. Now you can back into diagnosis and help and figure out where they're at. If they say, man, I'm actually really concerned. Well, why don't we talk about a solution? Sure. Now you finally have permission to talk about the 5%. By the way, just jump in, just raise your hand if you have questions for me and we can talk about it. Coaches, if you have things to add, jump right in, interrupt, please do. Okay, so you spend your time talking about condition consequences. You ask your 2 questions. Do you believe this is a problem? That's a yes or no. How concerned are you with this problem, right? How concerned are you with this? Second question, would it make sense to talk about a plan on how we can take care of this? Yes. Yay. All right. 5%. Do me a favor. Do not, I said there were 2 things. 1 was open-ended question. The second thing is understand this. 64% of patients in dentistry don't get asked if they want to schedule. So if there's one thing you want to make sure you take care of, it's that you stop telling and you start asking. So if you hear the things that we teach and train from verbal skills, it's about asking questions, not telling. Okay? We don't want to tell, we want to ask. How concerned? Would it make sense to talk about a plan? Instead of saying, you need a crown. I'm getting away from that. Now, those are 2 things. We say things, the 64% comes from, we say things like, all right, you have any questions for me? No? All right, go up front, see Cheyenne, she'll get you scheduled. All right, you're all set. We'll see you at your next appointment. We tap the counter. No, these are not things that help get patients healthier. All right. Once they say yes to your 2 questions, then you can go into your 5%. You finally get to talk about treatment. But at All Star, we want to make sure you even do that the right way. Do me a favor. Understand this. If you then go into, well, you're gonna need 4 quads of scaling root planing and 6 crowns, right? If you start telling at that point, they just hear dollar signs again. This is something that you really want to avoid. Instead of telling people what the treatment plan is, you want to lead with the definition. The analogy I use is, I don't want my wife to tell me that I'm having a salad for dinner. I want her to tell me the ingredients of the salad. For some reason, I like it better, especially if she starts with chicken. We're gonna have some chicken, and we're gonna put a lot of flavoring on it, and there'll be some tomatoes in there, and she'll start doing all the things I like, and then at the end, you hear it's a chicken salad. So do that with your patients, because if you start with, hey, it's a crown, automatically they're gone. What are they thinking about now?
Money.
Yeah, money. They just everybody go like this. They're thinking about money. You say crown, they're about money. So instead, in your 5%, define what you're doing first to that tooth to save it. And then at the end say, that's what we call a crown. Make sense? So how that sounds is I say, Cheyenne, what we're going to be doing is we're going to remove all of the broken tooth structure, all the fracture. There's a web of fractures that are going throughout your tooth underneath the surface that we're going to get rid of. We're going to eliminate the metal filling that's in there. That metal filling is actually rubbing and expanding and contracting and creating a brittle experience for your tooth that's not healthy for your tooth. It's the technology we had 15 years ago. Now we have material that's actually going to connect the fibers between the tooth and the filling, so there's a barrier, so nothing can get in between there. We're going to remove the decay. And then we're going to rebuild that tooth up from the inside out. We're going to build the structure so that it's healthy on the inside. And then so it doesn't split open, so it's healthy every time you bite down. We're going to put a protective coating on the outside of it. So every time you bite down and you hit that tooth with force, it's protected. We call that a crown and a buildup. All right. So and you would do the same thing for, say, an implant or for quads. Scaling root plane. You define what it is, then give the term. Okay, now here's the kicker. Please do me a favor. When you do all this perfectly at the end, please don't say, all right, you have any questions for me? We are all about getting mutual agreement with your patients. We are all about getting commitment. They believe they have a problem. They wanted to hear the solution. You gave them the solution. And now the third question. Now you have to ask if they want to move forward. This is going to improve the ability of patients to say, yeah, I do actually. I do want to do that. How you ask is also important. Please don't say something like this. Do you have any questions for me? Or do you see any good reason why you wouldn't want to go ahead and get in these leather seats today? Pressure sales, right? We're not car salesmen or women. Don't say, how soon would you like to get this taken care of? It just sounds needy. You might get to those questions down the line, but instead you want to ask in a way that puts them in a place where they feel like they're getting good advice from someone they trust and they're having a conversation and making a decision together. So our mutual agreement question uses the word how. Again, how concerned are you with this? Would it make sense to talk about a plan? And then lastly, now we talked about treatment. How do you feel about moving forward with this plan, Cheyenne? Now I give opportunity. She can't just say, yeah, and lie to me. She has to give me some information. She might say at that, well, how much is it going to cost? And we have to not be afraid of that question because that means they're interested. In fact, I get more nervous when people don't ask how much it's going to be. That doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't they want to know how much it is? They know I got to pay for it, right? Make sense, guys? You could also use the how question and say, how much sense does it make to move forward with this plan, Cheyenne? Again, it's an open-ended, it's just a dialogue question. Give me some feedback here. Where are we? And if she says, yeah, it makes sense, then I can go into, well, how soon do you think you want to get this done? Are you thinking like the next couple weeks or maybe next month? Now we can whittle it down into more directive questioning. Okay, so Dr. Pierce, you're muted there, but unmute yourself. When you're talking to patients and you're asking them, and you know the 95-5 rule, what's been your experience? How do you talk to patients like this? What are some things that you do that you see that makes a difference?
First, I want to do my consultation. I just tell them I do everything and do my probe and everything else, and then I explain to my patient, let me just tell you what's going on in your mouth, what those numbers are all about, and what's going to happen. So I tell them, okay, I have periodontal disease here because of this. There's tartar here. There's gingival bleeding here. It's caused by bacterium. We have some grinding issues, something like that. And that's okay. So that's it. So I'm telling them the problem, and then I tell them the consequence. If you just let it go, the measurement of it is just going to get bigger and deeper. You're going to have more pain. You can have more bleeding, lose more bone. And it's a periodontitis, like a domino effect. So one tooth is going to lead to another tooth to be lost.
Consequences.
Or if you have consequences. And then other things, so when I have a patient with a broken tooth, or they say, okay, doctor, I want to try to do a crown lengthening here. I say, crown lengthening, it's not going to work too well because of this. There's a large cavity. There's a fraction of the root. And the patient asks me, okay, but doctor, doesn't hurt. Can I keep the broken tooth, the broken root in my mouth? So yeah, you definitely. You can. The problem is it's a time bomb. So eventually it's going to cause pain, infection, discomfort. So now is the best time to take care. Oh, okay. So what happens if I keep that tooth? Well, just going to spread the infection out. Oh,
consequences. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So and then pretty much they're okay on that part. And that's when it was okay. So let's just move forward. So you know how much it is. Your next step, when we can schedule your earliest convenience, anything like that. So pretty much they move forward. So they're pretty much prepared.
Yep.
To to go ahead and schedule the appointment for the further treatment.
Perfect. Perfect. So Jen, you do the treatment coordinating in your practice. You coach offices on case acceptance. This is really more your wheelhouse than mine. When you are sitting down with patients and you're presenting your doctor's plan, how do you go through your sequencing of questions to make sure that they're on board, they're ready to go? What are some coaching tricks that you use?
Mm-hmm. So one of them was what you said. Once I figure out how are you feeling about this? How does this sound? I always wait for the doctor to leave the office or the room, not the office. We want him to leave the office too, but I always wait for the doctor to leave the room because it's almost like, okay, he's gone. And I always think that for me, the number one thing is patient advocacy, because that's the number one service you can give a patient as a team member.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes off so pressure-free, it's so real and genuine. Mm-hmm. So once you've made that connection and trust, those are the questions I ask. So, so tell me, how are you feeling about this?
It's open-ended.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's open-ended.
Yeah.
You're getting them to discuss with you because you can't handle the objection, right? Unless, why schedule them if they have no intention of showing up? Right. Mm-hmm. And you might as well get to the bottom of it. So doctors, what I'm hearing Jen say is make sure you have your team trained to use these skills too. It's not just about you doing this as well. How do you build up the skill set of your team to ask these questions? They got to understand it as well. Okay, good. I just wanted to put you on the spot, Jen. Thank you. All right. Now, between GP and specialist, orthodontist or periodontist, prosthodontist, doesn't matter. We have to transfer that same information. So even in your office, if I transfer out to Cheyenne, I'm going to bring this patient out to Cheyenne. Let's say Jen's my patient. I say, Cheyenne, Jen and Dr. Paris were talking out back, and they're both concerned about, and I start listing out the conditions, the diagnoses that we're concerned about. So Cheyenne can hear them as an administrative person. She now has the ammunition to know what the concern is. She knows the consequence, toothache or tooth loss. And then instead of saying Jen needs an appointment with Dr. Paris, instead I say, Cheyenne, Jen wants to go ahead and get her appointment scheduled with doctor so we can help her save her teeth, whatever it is. It's really important for her to have peace of mind. Okay. Now, Cheyenne has been empowered as the administrative team member to know that the moment I walk away as the clinical team member and they go, Cheyenne, it's not really bothering me that bad. I think I'm going to wait. She has the ability to then engage, right, Cheyenne?
Mm-hmm.
You know the condition. I don't know, Cheyenne, can you read I can't read x-rays. Can you read x-rays as an administrative team member?
Not very well.
you can see some things, but what's really going on there, right? Wow, you've got lighter shades and darker shades. This is amazing. So we want to make sure that we empower the next person in line, not only in your office, but from office to office. And so my goal with Dr. Paris is to say, hey, what can we be sending back to your referring doctor's practice? What are we sending back to them? We're not going to diagnose for you from the specialty physician office, but we want to give back. We want that referral to come back to you and that patient come back and say, yeah, Dr. Paris told me to have you look at this. I'm concerned about finishing this and making sure this doesn't happen again over here. Now, the only way to do that is to set you guys up too. So we got to be able to say, hey, Dr. Young's office, here are the conditions that we pointed out to Ricky Bobby so that when he comes to your practice, you can talk to him as well. And we can be on the same page going back and forth. You ever notice when two doctors say, yeah, this is a problem, the patient's more likely to do it? It's that second opinion factor that's going on. So we want to empower each other in our transfers. Be careful of just saying, hey, Dr. Paris, they need an implant on number 2. That's fine on the route slip, but what that patient needs to be reading in the comment section of that route slip is, Dr. Paris, I'm concerned about the missing space in the number 2 slot. Or we'll say number 3 slot, because the tooth in front of it and behind it are already starting to shift. I'm concerned about the patient losing those teeth as well. Now that is a powerful transfer. And on the return, it comes back. There's a letter that comes back to you from the specialist. Dr. Young, we were able to place an implant in number 3's position. I don't know, space maintainer, whatever it is. I noticed this please evaluate it and give Ricky Bobby your opinion on this area. I told him that I wasn't sure if it was a concern or not, but I thought it'd be good to have you take a look at it. It was imperative that he sees you every 6 months for hygiene, whatever it is. We're going to always get each other's back on this. And so doctors, be communicating on what you like or don't like about those transfers. We don't want to step on anybody's toes from the specialty position or vice versa. Does that make sense, Dr. Pierce? Is that okay? Okay. Anything you want to add to that?
No, you
Okay.
just clarify everything. So
Okay.
because it's great to want to get some referrals that we say, I have a broken tooth here, and the doctors recommend extraction. And sometimes actually, I have some patients. I think they're kind of tricky because they said they forgot the referral. So I see the problem. They say, well, it's a problem with the lower right tooth. So I take a look and say, that tooth's broken. They said the cavity. I think it's worth to, take the tooth out and say, my doctor said the exact same thing to me.
There you go.
Oh, by the way, that's a referral. I said, great. You gave the referral afterwards. That's fine.
Yes. It's that second opinion. It's that confidence builder that patient needs. When I have a saying, no pain, no problem, no pay. When that patient perceives there to be no pain, their then perception is no problem. Therefore, why would I be paying you any money? You can ask all of your administrative team members if they ever hear things like this. You ask them this tomorrow. Hey, do patients ever say this? Oh, I got to pay for this crown. Doctor's got to put his kids through college. Oh, doctor got a new car. I see. I'm paying for that with this crown. Oh, we had one at Dr. Bryant's office. We put a new wheelchair ramp in. I had a patient sit in front of me and say, oh, I see I'm paying for a new wheelchair ramp. I was thinking to myself, man, the karma that's going to come back on this guy complaining about a wheelchair ramp being built. So here's what I want you to ask them if those things are being said. The reason I want you to ask if that's being said is because those patients feel like they're in a sales process. Those comments are a reflection of how they feel about what they just went through. When you use the 95.5, your patients will not be saying that. They will say things like, wow, I didn't realize it was so bad. What do I got to do to fix it? How soon should I get this taken care of? We always joke and say the day before it hurts. As long as you get it taken care of the day before it hurts, you'll be fine. And laugh a little bit, because then they think, wait, day before it hurts? Now, transfers, make sure you're transferring back and forth. Focus on the 95 even in your transfers. It's okay for the patient to see that, to hear that. It's okay for your administrative team to hear that as well. It's important for us to be focused on the condition. Treatment is just about sales. All right. Makes sense. Dr. Pierce, now there's a out of network insurance part of this too that I think is also empowering in the transfer. And you correct me if I'm wrong here, doctor. Okay. This is what we would love for us to say back and forth and understand what everybody's office is. A lot of times patients will say, you're referring me to the periodontist or to the orthodontist. Oh, did they accept my insurance? And your administrative office needs to know what to say at that moment to empower your specialist. So if you're at a network like Dr. Pierce, we would want them to say, oh, they're going to handle your insurance claims for you. They will file your insurance claims for you. They'll explain how that works in their office. Okay. What we don't want the administrative team in the general practice office to say is, oh no, they don't take your insurance. They make you pay up front, or anything that sounds negative will just really diminish the ability of that patient to get healthier faster. Remove that friction. Coaches, feel free to jump in here if you have any suggestions on this as well. Dr. Pierce, anything you like that some offices say that really empowers you guys when it comes to the insurance stuff?
Well, I'd rather just let the patient know, we are, how we're gonna handle your insurance. So which we accept, not accept the insurance, but we send out the claim on their behalf. Mm-hmm. So that'd be a better way, actually, let the patient know how the insurance works, like Eric explained so nicely. And say, okay, if you have any questions about your consultation, please call the office. And then my front desk, my person over there, they're gonna be able to actually to explain to the patient by the phone, say, okay, how the insurance actually works. So we're out of network, a fee for service, but we explain how it actually works.
That's right.
Because just because of being out of network does not mean the patient is gonna pay more. Actually, they're gonna get better reimbursement of the insurance than being in network anyways.
That's
But
right.
that has to be explained to the patient in a certain way they can actually understand how.
That's right. So when we systematize that as coaches, we say never tell the patient what we don't do. This is my favorite line, Cheyenne. We always tell them what we do. I'm 12. Okay, so we explain to the patient what happens in that office. So when you go to Dr. Paris's office, they're going to file your claim electronically for you, and your insurance company is going to reimburse you directly. You're going to get the same benefits, the same net result moving forward. It's actually a really good system. They get to focus on your care. It works out being the same in the end. Does that make sense? Okay, they'll explain it to you when you give them a call. Instead of saying what they don't do, oh, they don't accept assignment of benefit, and just all of a sudden they're just confused. They have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. Make sense? All right. Q&A time. I know that this is an opportunity for Dr. Paris to bring us coaches on to support you guys. So what are some common struggles you guys are seeing in your practice right now with case acceptance, with maybe insurance participation or getting out of network? We've got 5 coaches on here willing to help out. So you let us know what your questions are. That's what a study club is, right? All right. You can message them or you can just yell at us. What's the biggest challenge in your practice right now?
I can go first. Most times it's just more case acceptance. So, for example, there are some of my treatments, they're more cost than, a single crown. So let's put it away. So one thing that's been working with my office very well, it's something called Sunbeat. I don't know if you guys are familiar. So it's similar to Care Credit, but for my office actually it's working better because it does not get the patient is not hit by on the credit at all. And I would say out of all the patients they have to apply to, maybe 80%, 90%, they get accepted.
Okay.
So they do get something on Sunbeat. So it's Sunbeat, Sunbit, and it works really well. So it's like Care Credit. I mean, Care Credit is gonna get like 9.1%, 9.9% of the cost, everything. The Sunbeat is going to be less than that. It's almost the same thing than a credit card, 5%, 6%. But if the patient has really bad credit, they're going to hit you in about 10 to 15%. But the patient has to be really, really bad credit, which is, for example, Care Credit or Lane Club, they will never get anything at all.
They get zero, yeah.
They
So do you
get
want zero? Do you want zero of nothing, or do you want 85% of something?
Which is fine. So I mean, I do have some patients that actually they get really nice. Like for example, somebody tells you how much they can actually link to the patient. So for example, they get an email right away. So in 2 minutes they get an email, and the patient get the information right away. For example, okay, you can get up to 15,000. So the treatment's only 5,000, but they know they can get any treatment up to 15,000, which is great because they know how much they can afford that, and they have plan. They can pay once a month. They can pay monthly for a couple of years, for 3 years. So it's been working really well in my office. I started doing that. I think that was last year, maybe a year and a half ago, and it's amazing. I see more case acceptance with Sunbeat than anything else. So Care Credit's been a bummer. Lane Club is being a bummer, but Sunbeat it's working really well.
That's great. I have my demo with them on Tuesday, Dr. Paris. So I'm gonna dive in and see what's going on there. Love it. You keep telling me about it. I'm gonna have to figure it out. All right. Who else? Challenges.
He's a periodontist.
Dr. Kwan, what was that?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize my.
Oh, okay. No worries. No worries. Yeah. So what else? Anybody else have any challenges you're seeing? Anything you're hearing? Concerns? Great ideas?
Hello, this is Carlos. I'm sorry for the shadowing. I was driving. I was picking up my son at soccer practice. So,
You look great. You
but
look great.
thanks. Just some comments, things that might help. I've been like Dr. Perez. I've been, he's my periodontist in the area, and I've been out of network for 14 years now. And something that I implemented in 2017 was transitioning from taking single tooth pictures to having more like full arches pictures, like very kind of orthodontic pictures, and having a co-diagnosis with the patient, not going picture by picture, but going for the full arch, because they can visualize the whole thing, and they see their teeth from a different perspective. And it's been after, again, I took this course in Scottsdale, Arizona with Spear, and it was called facially generated treatment planning. And after I implemented that, the case acceptance is because the patient can see the thing as a total, and they walk out of the office with a picture. So not only they assist me on diagnosis, they also get the picture. My team, they draw on their picture the teeth number. So whenever they see the treatment plan, they relate, oh, this is the tooth that the doctor was talking about, that there's a crack that will need a crown, and they see it and visualize it. And sometimes, especially for the guys, they go home and the wife asks them, okay, so what happened at the dental office? And they don't have an excuse to go to the nothing box. They can go ahead and have some information to discuss with the wife, because the reality is that the wife usually is the one making the financial decisions in the households nowadays. So we have to think about those little details, and it works great using the whole pictures, and or getting, sometimes if I notice that the patient is not that ready for that day, or especially is if I know or realize with the patient objections at that moment that he's not the one making the financial decisions, sometimes I don't even try to attempt to present that day. I try to bring the wife on board, and both of them present to both of them, so it makes it easier to then close the patient that day. That's my input for this
great.
conversation.
Yeah. Do you use an iTero scan as well? Have you ever used anything like that where the patient's seeing their whole mouth and you can turn it all around and show them everything?
I have the CEREC, but I don't use it for that purpose, because it will eat away some time from my presentation. But I use a lot of visuals, a lot of pictures from like kind of the same setting of the ortho pictures with retractors, with mirrors, so the patient can see it all. And my team is already trained, so they know when I'm talking about a tooth, they magnify the image so the patient can see it bigger. It makes that tooth so big that they can see the crack, they can see the shadows underneath the mercury filling, and they realize, okay. And I try to bring them into reality. Why not? Right now we can fix a tooth with maybe $250 versus maybe waiting a couple of more time, and the tooth is going to get decay, fracture, is going to get root canal, and those $2,000 or $250 will turn into $2,500. And it's creating a ruin in the moment. So they see it and they, okay, correct. And they get it done. So it's been working good ever since we switched into that concept of using the full pictures versus going with a little intraoral camera tooth by tooth. Plus the quality is great.
That's right.
Can I add something to what Carlos is? Yeah. So one of the things that we do in our practice is very similar to what Carlos was just describing. I do take a lot of photos in my practice, and we do a lot of before and after. And I think that is very educational to patients. And you're not showing just what's happening in their mouth, which you can obviously have a picture like Carlos was suggesting, and or it could be a full mouth. But typically, like for instance, in my office, we do a lot of full mouth rehabilitation. So I do have documented many cases, and in a lot of cases repeat themselves, as you know. So I can show the ex-patient how they came in, and then how it was fully rehabilitated, and then that it's an eye-opening for a lot of these patients.
Yeah.
And then in regards to the referral to the specialist, for instance, when I refer a patient to Carlos, for instance, for periodontal health. One thing is my practice is not close to Carlos's practice. I'm in Ocoee. He's got a practice in Winter Park. He's got a practice in Lake Nona, and I know he doesn't take insurance. So the way I refer my patients is, listen, I'm referring you to Dr. Peters because he is the guy that I know for a fact will take care of your issues. I trust him. If I had to go somewhere, he is the guy that I would be going to personally.
That's great.
So you kind of like create a connection between yourself, the practitioner, and the specialist that you're referring to. And it's good to get to know your specialist that you work with. In this particular case, I know the way Carlos practices. I know a lot of the procedures. And if you don't know, I know a little while back, Carlos was offering to come into your own practice and show you. He'll give a little talk about whatever procedure you want to hear about in case you don't know exactly how it's done. Learning it doesn't mean that you're going to be doing it if you don't want to, but it just means that you're more knowledgeable on how to and when to refer those cases.
How to talk about it. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Thank you, Dr. Martinez. That's awesome. Yeah. In fact, you inspired me another idea. You know, you talk about before and after pictures. A great file that us coaches will recommend for our clients is to have a file folder on every computer. We call them before and consequences. Here's what the tooth looked like when they came in. It's like that old commercial. Here's your brain on drugs. Remember that one? This is your tooth. This is your tooth on crack. So you have this tooth you've taken a picture of. They don't move forward with treatment. They come back in an emergency situation. It's vertically fractured. It's broken off at the gum line, whatever it is, perio abscess. Take a picture of that too. Put those two pictures next to each other. Whenever you have a patient sitting in the chair who's, yeah, it's not really bothering me. I think I'm gonna go ahead and wait. You know, Ricky Bobby, let me share with you what it looks like when you wait, if that's okay with you. You see how this tooth looks just like your tooth right now? Here's how this patient showed up just a couple months later. This is why we're so concerned about it. Are you sure you want to wait? Ask a question. The before and consequence photo. And then, you know, we're talking about consultations and wives making decisions and husbands and wives making these decisions together. Don't be afraid to use a HIPAA approved virtual consultation. If they leave not ready to make a decision because they want to go talk to their spouse about it, say, well, why don't we schedule you and your spouse to meet with me virtually? We could do a 4:30 p.m. 20-minute consult where we talk about, I could have access to all the images. We can share everything with you. We could do that online. You guys don't have to come down together. How does that sound to you? Always have a next step. If they're leaving without an appointment, what's the next step? Okay.
And I suggest something else. I mean, I know most of the group here is a general practitioner, but if you are doing large cases, for instance, I mean, you do need to kind of spend some quality time with that patient. So what we do, for instance, is I bring a patient in for a consult. That consult basically is an hour consultation. We just gather all the information, right? And then many times, what I found through the years is that sometimes I want to present the treatment plan, and some of you guys may disagree with me, and that's why we have this open forum so we can discuss. But I would actually not start talking about finances that same day. We gather all the information, we get all the records, and then we create an appointment, which is called the case presentation appointment. And we encourage the spouse to bring their significant other on that case presentation appointment. And I'm talking only on large cases. I'm not talking about, you know, a 3-unit bridge or a denture or a single implant. I'm talking about large cases. I think it's your time and the investment to bring that significant other, because a well-educated spouse can either make it or break it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they could be a great encouragement. A lot of times spouses take better care of their, let's say wives take better care of their husbands, and the husbands take care of themselves. And so you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Love it. That's a great idea. All right. Other ideas, other challenges, thoughts here? Anybody jump in? I wrote down membership plans. That's another thing.
We do have a, like Dr. Pires says, we have different options. You like you said, you have to have always like that plan B. So we normally present the whole treatment and we call it close sale, whatever, right? To close the patient that same day, and prepay the whole treatment. If not, we also have like the credit card, the credit and the options, but we also have a in-office savings plan it's like a membership plan. You have 3 levels of membership, which is like you have the entry level. We normally recommend it for patients that we see that we're getting to that last page of the kind of our like internal script and we're not closing the patient. And if they have a lot of treatment, normally we offer them like, let's say the platinum, where they have the membership, but it does have the most of the discounts. It's like a discount in office plan and it works pretty good as well, but we use it as a last resource. And the good thing with those, even though if they buy it, even if they finish their treatment and they keep buying it, is that if they break a tooth, they're just going to land into your office because they already have the membership with you. So it makes it easier for them. And again, it has been working great overall.
Yeah, membership plans were born out of the recession in 2010. This is where membership plans really came out of, because people lost a lot of things. They wanted to still go to the dentist, and this was a great way to do that. And it was a win-win for the practice and the patient. So no insurance, no problem. We've got you covered. And you literally took the words right out of my mouth. Membership plans are a great way to do this because it's a no-brainer for your patient. And it's actually pretty good for you too, because here's the deal. When we study this, it's like going to Costco. You ever notice your shopping cart's completely full when you go to Costco and you save so much? People who are in a membership plan will do 2.5 times the amount of dentistry that a person who is insured will do, or a non-member cash pay patient. 2.5 times the amount of dentistry. We're trying to get them healthier faster. So if you have a membership plan to offer, sure, you're going to give up 10% of your fee to them, the doctor fee, but they're doing 2.5 times the dentistry. That's the win in it for you. 100% agree.
The only thing that you have to be aware if you guys decided to implement something like that, you have to study very carefully how much discount you're going to offer and if you're going to offer any financing. Because if you have, let's say, already given a 10% discount, and then you have a credit, which takes away 10%, you're giving away 20% of your treatments.
No double dipping. No double dipping.
You have to be careful.
That's right.
What are you offering?
Yep. At All-Star, we recommend Denvantage. It's a dentist-owned membership plan company. If you want someone to do a demo for you, and you just reach out to Denvantage, and Meg there will help you out. It's owned by 4 dentists. They're lifelong friends of ours. They're phenomenal at what we teach and what we do. They're just like you guys. So they'll show you how it works in your practice. You can decide if you want to do your own in your practice or have them help you. We are doing a 2-day course in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale. So in your neck of the woods. Carlos, you're going to be there, right? May 19th and 20th. Is for your whole team if you'd like. It's all on case acceptance. Yep. So Friday, Saturday, CE, all the coaches are going to be presenting while we're there. Larry Gazzardo as well, Alex Nottingham. We'll all be there, and we'll all be talking about how to grow your practice. It's called our Growth Summit. How to grow your practice through patient case acceptance, large cases like you guys have been talking about, from answering the phone call all the way through scheduling. The coaches will teach you guys how to do that. We're obviously here to support you guys as well. If you ever need anything, the coaches are here to take great care of you. So May 19th and 20th, if you want to just drive down to Fort Lauderdale, we'd love to have you. Carlos, you're coming a day early to do the Speaking Skills Summit?
Yeah, I'm getting there on Wednesday evening. So we're going to meet each other on Thursday.
Yeah, so we're teaching a Speak Like an All-Star. If you do presentations, you're in front of a group. I think we only have a couple spots left. We only allow 20 people in that course. And then we fit 100 in the 2-day course, 100 people, and we're at 78, I think, right now. So just a little bit more room. If you guys want to join us, we'd love to have you. Otherwise, we're just here to add value to you guys as much as possible. We'll be joining Dr. Pires every other month for these. So our even months, we'll jump in and talk about a topic. So if you have something you want to talk about, you could submit it to Carlos as well. And one of the coaches will be on here and presenting anything you guys would like to talk about. So
then next month, March, we're going to have our on Zoom meeting anyway. So I'm gonna be talking about tooth fracture and root fracture. So just a heads up. And then Eric back in April.
I'll be back with the team in April, and we'll talk about something different. Yeah. Yeah. You're always welcome to bring team with you, right, Carlos? If they want to come on the months that we're doing, bring your team members with you. If they have questions, of course, we're here to support all of you guys. We want you guys winning. We know that if you're winning, Dr. Paris is winning. So, and patients are winning because they're getting healthier. So
you guys have the link, so you can just forward the link, and if the hygienists want to show up, it's fine, because again, I can just credit hours for you guys for the hygienist team as well. I just send direct, so just give me a couple of days so I can send to the see broker. Usually I'm okay in 24 hours. So if you go to see broker, they're going to be able to find the C hours over there, but it's open for anyone. So front desk, like the administrative team, even the assistant. So sometimes we can get some good things from there, so they can understand easily. Because one thing is when someone tells my team something, and when I tell them something, they think they're completely off. So sometimes if they listen from someone else, they get it. Oh, so my dog is right.
You're not as crazy as we thought.
No, yes. So there are two people who are crazy there. So, yeah.
Yeah, bring a coach in. It just confirms your craziness. All right. Yes. We're here to support you guys. We appreciate you guys supporting Dr. Perez, and let us know how we can help. Yeah, if you have any questions, we're here. All right.
Okay, guys. So I guess some